Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, ladies and gentlemen, depending on where you join us from in the world. Welcome once again to Open Up, our live talk show. My name is RJ Horner, and I'm the host of Open Up. I'm also the vice president of Voice of Men 360. So thank you for joining us on behalf of Voice of Men 360 and myself and the rest of the team. Voice of Men 360 is a not-for-profit organization founded in 2020 based in Toronto, Canada. Voice of Men 360 was born out of seeing a tremendous need and stepping up to help provide services to help support our men and boys overcome their life challenges. We're part of International Men's Day, and International Men's Day has been serving for over 21 years so far and is now represented in 90 countries around the world, joining to do various activities. IMD follows 6 pillars, which represent the overall well-being of men and boys, and we follow in those same footsteps here. So why is Open Up so important? Because men are not willing to open up our hearts and share our matters with people. And when we keep these within ourselves, they create emotional or physical health challenges. We want to avoid that here. And that's why we create an open space to allow individuals to share their life journey with you through our platform. We aim to create awareness about the life challenges and the struggles that our men and boys have to go through in their lives. There are no limitations with gender, age, nationality, or ethnic groups. All walks of life are invited to participate in our program. Our goal is to make a positive impact in someone's life through this program. Open Up is on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. and Sundays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. We bring individuals to share their life journey and share their experiences to help you with your journey. We'd like to remind you at this time that Voice of Men 360's mission is always delivered with good faith towards peaceful harmony. The views and opinions expressed in today's episode are those of our speakers and do not necessarily represent Voice of Men 360. Our organization engages in discussion forums to offer inspiration and create awareness to the issues of men who wish to overcome their life challenges. We're not providing medical or therapeutic advice. Should you require that type of assistance, we recommend you contact a medical professional immediately. If you have any questions or concerns about today's episode or any Voice of Men 360 content, email info@voiceofmen360.org. I'm excited about our speaker today because he is an acquaintance of mine. On top of being an established coach in the personal development field, I met him because he's a student of personal development, and we go through various trainings and masterminds and other opportunities together. So I'd like to introduce Marc Maynard, who is also a life mastery consultant at the Brave Thinking Institute. So thank you for joining us, Marc, and you're also the personal growth trainer. I know you by that. That's how I send you my contact information. So thank you, Marc. Please join us on Open Up. Thank you, Marc Maynard.
How are you doing, RJ? It's great to be here. Thank you very much. I'm really excited about this opportunity. I love what you're doing here. It really resonates with me as I've had what I feel to be some pretty good challenges in my life to get to this point. And I'm really excited to offer what I offer for people to help them find the greatest in themselves and live a life they absolutely love living.
Oh, wonderful. I love that. Again, I know you, like I said, to be a student and a teacher in the personal development field. Tell us a little bit more about that, where the passion comes from. Why are you doing that? Why are you helping other people instead of just living a great life yourself?
Well, that's an awesome question. I'll tell you what. Well, let's go back a little bit. I'll go a little bit back in the past, but not too far, just to start that off, and let you know that I had a very familiar setup that a lot of people have in the world, where I was presented with information that you go get a good job, you educate yourself, you set yourself up in a place where you make income, you get benefits, you raise a family, buy a house and the cars and vacations, and I did follow that track for some time. However, I realized something interesting that I was not aware was going on all along. And that was that there's a spirit that was in my heart that wanted something bigger, wanted something greater for me in my life. And I wasn't actually paying attention to that voice. I was doing what I thought I should be doing, and I wasn't actually feeding my soul along the way. Now, I had plenty of hobbies that I would get engaged in, but even that, there was still something that was missing, something profound in my life that just wasn't showing up for me. And what's interesting, and this is a quote from one of my mentors that I absolutely love, and this is a quote from Les Brown. He said, life, when you don't move on life, knowing that that was part of what I was trying to get access to, was that voice in my spirit that was asking for something.
Mhm.
Life will move on you. And that's what happened to me about 4 years ago. In spite of me going along what I considered the corporate mentality, is that life moved on me, and the company that I spent 20 years building a relationship with turned around and just sold to another company. And essentially, I did get offered a job, but I would have to start all over again after putting all that time and effort to build what I considered to be a position and a reputation in my field. That put a lot of, I believe, pressure on me. I was very dissatisfied with that. It was stressful. And I ended up going through a lot of medical issues. From 2017 to mid 2018, I actually went through a heart attack. I had a heart attack, but at the time I was so physically strong that it wasn't a situation where I knew that that was happening. I thought I was having a severe panic attack. And I thought I was just having some kind of emotional breakdown when I was having an actual heart attack. And being unaware of that, I moved into continuing with my job, which is a very physical job. I was in the beer delivery industry. I drove a truck for 23 years. And it was that last 3 years with the new company that just added such a level of emotional pressure on me that I was so dissatisfied with having to start over again after feeling like I had done what was right for me, that the stress levels had built so much that I occluded the smallest artery in my heart. When I had that heart attack, I just went back to work. And in essence, with that kind of pressure on my heart, I blew a hole through my central ventricle wall, which, to be honest, I'm surprised that I'm with you here today to
Sure.
talk to you about that. As the doctor had said to me, you're really, really lucky. The surgeon, when he did operate on me, and that was about 3 days later, I had to wait for a specialist to come in that would be comfortable doing the surgery to put a patch in the center of my heart to close off those ventricles so my heart would work again. And they put a pump in to assist me while I waited in ICU. And when he went in and did the surgery, he said, as soon as I opened up your heart, that wall fell apart. He said, and I've never seen that before. So I'm not really sure what was holding that together for you, but I feel really blessed to still be here. And so to really answer your question, there's this driving passion of understanding that there's a lot more going on here than just the mechanics of what we see every day and what we're engaged in. There's a great spiritual power that when I tapped into that, I found a new direction for myself that's so rewarding, that's so inspiring. And to share this with people and watch them expand and help them grow and find their greatness, it's been the most satisfying thing I've ever found in my life. So that's what turned me on to going in this direction, was a shift in perception that there's something I'm meant to do here that's different than what I thought it was.
Absolutely. And a lot of us don't jump at that. We don't realize that. We don't know that that's even what's maybe crippling us. You know what I mean? To move to that next step. I love that you said, and again, you quoted Les Brown, and I'm just going to say the second part of it is that life will move on you, right? If you don't move on life, life will move on you. And let's face it, a lot of us get put in that position. You were put in that position, whether through business people who are downsized or their position is eliminated or whatever. So many times, because you didn't take that next step or you didn't look for that new pursuit that's going to drive your passion, we find ourselves in these um, trivial or terrible moments, and we could have avoided them if we just been aware. Um, so I guess there's no comment to that, but again, so that's what drives your pursuit. But how do we encourage others to take that up for themselves?
That's a great question. And what I like to inspire people on, and this is another mentor of mine, Mary Morrissey, who is, again, as you said, I'm a life mastery consultant with Mary Morrissey in the Brave Thinking Institute. What turned me on about her goal in life and her pursuit was there's a spiritual aspect to Mary Morrissey I just immediately resonated with. She is had her own medical situation, which was extremely impactful for her. And when she tells the story, it's an amazing story. She had one kidney that was completely dead, and another that was 50% deteriorated from a specific condition that she had. Pregnant at the time and in the hospital, thinking that this is it. She's going to lose her baby and herself. She actually had someone come to her and ask her if she could leave a corner of her mind open to the possibility that when they remove the completely dead kidney, that we can spiritually, energetically, and even mentally, in a thought-provoking way, take everything that we do not want in ourselves, and or for her, take everything you do not like in that currently is with you, and mentally place it in the dead kidney. So when the doctor removes it, you have a fresh start. And she didn't quite believe that, but she did it anyway. And I'm not sure if this woman was a nun, but she was going around the hospital and inspiring people to get into what they could do to get better. The interesting and miraculous thing is that the kidney that was dying, the doctor saw no way to help her reverse it, that actually reversed on its own. And within months, she was walking out of the hospital with a fully functional kidney. And I love that story. And that's kind of an aspect that I bring to the table when I talk to people about themselves. So how can we get other people inspired about their lives? Well, Mary comes with this, and I do as well. What is it that you love? And that's an interesting concept, because when people are structuring their lives, and I found that this happened with me, is we think about it. We think about what we think should be. We think about what we feel is logistically sound. But when it comes to planning a future, do we consider if we absolutely love it? Like, how do we feel? How do we absolutely feel about what we're doing? Because what I've discovered with guidance from my mentors is that I was putting my thought of what I could be on my future and thinking, I think I can be this. But do I really want to be this is the question. And I know a lot of holdup for some people is, well, how would I do it? Like, let's say I love writing, but I know nothing about writing. How would I do that? The interesting thing about that is there's almost 8 billion people on the planet, and our society is made of people that assist each other. There's always a way. And so many people know how to do so many things that we can leverage each other's skill and ability and access that. We can be great at what it is we want to be great at. And then we can leverage other people's skill and ability to do the things that we either don't have time or have no interest in learning. So I come from that place when I talk to people is, what is it that you would love? What would be a perfect life for you? If you had to structure that out, what would it be? And that ends up starting the conversation. And most people end up getting to a place where they say, and a lot of things that they love in their life that they wouldn't if you ask them, would you want to do, what do you want for a career? Because if you ask them what they want to do with their life, a lot of times that their intellect will come in and try to structure what they think is possible. Mm-hmm. And that is really where the conversation begins, is getting people into their heart. Because there's this amazing system here. And as Bob Proctor says, all the knowledge that ever was or ever will be is equally present in all places at the same time. And we're electromagnets. We actually have access to all that information, but only if we're willing to allow ourselves access to it. And that sounds a little cryptic, but actually what's happening, it's a frequency, it's a vibration. And if we get on a higher vibration, if we get on a heartfelt, upward, what we call generating state, with in the Brave Thinking Institute, is we get ourselves to a frequency that we now can start having ideas and thoughts about, oh, I could do that, or I could call that person, or what if I did this? What would happen then? And it's very intriguing, because when we're on a lower state, if we're discouraged, depressed, or just not engaged in what we're doing, those thoughts don't come at all because we're not on the harmonious frequency of them. So that's that's exactly where I start out when I engage people on what they want to do.
No, absolutely. Because you know what? You think in terms of possibilities and options, and then how can we achieve these possibilities? How can we make it happen? And you know what? For some people, that might be quite blatantly obvious. But for others, that might be the eye-opening thing, that the factor that they've been missing, right? The fact that they think of blockages, right? A dream or an option comes up, and they're thinking, well, yeah, but I could do this, but, or if I do this, what will happen? What will life look like? So just that frame of mind, that reframing to think of, wow, if I thought about it, the potential here, and then how do I reach that potential? It's a skill that some people just maybe do not possess or do not even think about when they process things. So thank you for that little tool.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Um, let's go back if we could. I want to know what influenced Mark. Let's talk about your youth. What were you like as a young lad?
Oh, well, that's an absolutely perfect place to go into for this, and let's take a look at how this all started. And I really want to share this message with everybody out there, especially the young boys and men that are growing up and feel that they have a lot of challenges facing them. And there might be that feeling in their heart that, well, okay, what do I do? How do I overcome these limitations that I see in front of me? So going back, I'm going to go all the way back to when I was 6. That was a very profound time in my life. I had a lot of challenges in my family life. My general vibration of my family was not very good. There was a lot of restriction. There was a lot of pain and suffering that was being expressed while I was growing up. I had 3 older sisters and my mother and father. Now, my father went and he worked, and a lot of times my mom was home. And she had a lot of issues from her childhood. And at that time, that generation, that wasn't something that was very popular. That wasn't something people knew about. We didn't talk about what the issues were. No one ever talked about what happened behind closed doors. These things were off limits when I was a kid. And I know my mother went through a lot of suffering with herself. I have since looked at this situation in that actual generation of women that grew up right at the start of the women's lib movement, where women wanted, obvious reasons, to have that equality, be able to vote, go to work, build a career, and have that self that's expressed. And I think what happened is, and we've looked at this a little bit, is that there were a lot of women who were taught that it was okay to be the housewife, to be the mom, to stay at home and raise the kids while her spouse went off to work. But I think in shifting through that change, we have seen that a lot of women at that time were felt left behind. They felt like they weren't part of this new revolution, and watching women get strong and step out of themselves and become. I have talked to a lot of people my age whose moms were very bitter and very angry, and that expression, of course, came out towards the kids. So without going too much into details, there was a lot of stress, a lot of pressure. There was some abuse on different sides. And because my father wasn't home a lot, for myself, I would, to share this vulnerability and be completely authentic, I felt that my childhood growing up as a young boy, that I was emasculated. My mother was very aggressive, and she felt that there was some mistreatment of women, and because I was a young male in the household, that she wanted to teach me that you're not going to disrespect women, and you're going to be this way, you're going to be that way. And I had a sister who was very much the same way as her. And between the two of them, it was a constant barrage that somehow I was already wrong just because I was a male, as it were. And I grew up with this distinction in my mind and heart that, I was only useful if I was doing and being, certain things and being a certain way. So I feel that one of the largest challenges I had right off the bat was to have any self-respect or self-love, because that was very much missing in my life growing up. And that expressed itself as I went through school. I was very emotional. I was very expressive, but in a negative and aggressive way. I was that kid that threw tantrums, tantrums to the hilt, and I was not aware of what was going on inside me. So that was really, really challenging. I didn't have very many good years at school. When I made friends, interestingly enough, I had that, what I call like a weakness vibration that was on me because of what was transferred to me through that behavior. And what I really gained attention on were all the bullies in school could smell that, and they would come at me. And I would reach a point where I would lose my composure and just lash back. And what ended up happening is, when it comes to that bully mentality, is that they respect someone willing to stand up for themselves. And when you do that, now they want to be your friend. Now, it was interesting that I would get to a point where I'd learned to stand up for myself, but now my entire friend group was actually people that I really didn't want to be friends with. And I thought that that wasn't helping me either. By the time I reached high school, I picked up smoking. I was extremely introverted. I wouldn't talk about anything. I kept everything to myself. I felt judged by every single thing around me. And I really didn't aspire to anything in any kind of growth category you could think of. So by the time I was in high school, once again, I was still friends with people that did drugs, that weren't going anywhere. And I really felt like I was digging myself into an early grave, basically. Now I had gotten together with this girl when I was a senior, and we stayed together for 7 years, actually got engaged to her. But all along the way, there was this spirit. Now that I look back at it and think about this, there was this spirit trying to express itself through all of that, what I call perceived difficulty. And it was trying to get out of me, but I wasn't actually allowing it to have any presence. I wasn't looking at it. I was constantly in my mind and in my program about how I felt and what I thought I was. So I had an idea of what I thought I was, and I would just stay in my own little, as I've heard one person say recently, my own little hobbit hole, and just hide away from everyone else because no one's going to accept me. No one appreciates me. What do I have to offer? All of the things you hear when we are in the lower levels of depression, but not even acknowledging that, not having a support system. That just kept expressing itself, all the difficulty. Anytime someone did try to come and care about me, I would push them away, not even knowing I was doing that. That I was scared. I didn't trust anyone. You're going to hurt me and you want to take advantage of me. And me and my fiance, because we got engaged, we ended up fighting like cats and dogs for 4 months, and she eventually left me, that I don't want to deal with this anymore. And that became what I considered to be at that time the final straw for me, that I emotionally crashed, and was forced to see myself for the first time in my life, actually see myself separate from what I considered to be my day-to-day routine. And it was very interesting because I feel like the two of us were taking advantage of any support we could get from each other, but that we really weren't in love. And that showed up so much because when she left, I wasn't hurt because I loved her. I was hurt because I was alone. I was hurt because she just left and I have to figure it out. And it was so impactful for me because it was at that moment that I was going to either make or break myself based on what I had left in the tank as far as strength and awareness of what was going on. I realized my past. For the first time, I realized you are what you are because of what you've experienced. And that happened organically for me. I didn't have a mentor show me. I didn't have a hero I was following. It just happened because I was left to my own devices at a point in time that apparently it was, as Les said, this is the time life's going to move on me, and it's going to show me myself for the first time. So as that happened, I was initially crushed by that. And again, total authenticity. It was so bad that the only thing I could think of that would take all of this misery away was just not to be here anymore.
I've been there.
And the first time in my life I understood why and how someone can become suicidal.
Yeah. And
Is
maybe not that they're suicidal in that moment, but I don't care what you say. Many people have asked themselves, why am I here? What's the point of going on? You know what I mean? So, and maybe it is that they're suicidal, but it is that they just can't figure a way out or a way beyond. Right?
Right, exactly. And that's where I felt I was at that moment.
Yeah.
That with all this pain and pressure, I had no answers. And that thought of, but if I wasn't here, the pain would stop.
Yes.
And at that moment, I understood what people feel like when they're in that place.
Yes. Yeah. That's why I have that empathy too. You know what? I've had many years of depression. I've had a similar life to you, Mark, you know? And so I've had many years of depression. And I can honestly say, I don't believe I've ever been suicidal, but I can honestly say I've asked myself that kind of question at least 1,000 times in my lifetime, you know, and it's sad to have to ask yourself something like that once, but to ask yourself repeatedly. It really it describes a lack of purpose or a lack of a reason to get out of bed, basically.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, that was such a profound moment for me. And I did end up getting to that state. I did buckle to that notion, and I planned and attempted. And I felt I was so scared of pain that I did it wrong, which, thankful. And a lot of people around me say, I'm very glad that you weren't talented at that so that you were still here. And when I did it wrong and woke up, there was something so I would love to share with everybody. This feeling that occurred to me at that time is what I call my spiritual awakening. I was living with a friend of mine at the time, and I had ingested a bunch of pills and I had a lot to drink, and he brought me to the hospital so that they could do what they could do. And they asked me to stay and talk to someone. So of course I did. I was very ashamed of the moment. How do I express to people what I'm going through? How do I tell you why this hurts so bad? How do I explain to you that I really don't want to gain this kind of attention? I just want this to stop.
Sure.
And when I got in the hospital room, I had to wait about 6 hours to talk to the on-call doctor about why I did what I did. And I had all that time. All I did was stare out the window of the room I was in. And I was looking at a park that I've seen many times in my childhood. And I'm just staring at it. And all this energy is just tumultuously churning inside me of, what do I do now? What do you do now? That didn't work. Now what are you going to do? Now what are you going to do? And all this turned into this phoenix energy that just came up, that spirit that I engage people with nowadays all the time. There's a spirit in our heart. And that spirit that came up on me said, the light bulb went off. And I was like, I get it. I have just been emulating what was handed to me. And I don't have to do that. It was really interesting because I had never considered that option, ever. That what was given to me as information that I've been basing my life on all of this time is not the only information there is. And it was so ecstatic. I was so ecstatic, so excited that, I could just choose something new and just go after that. I could literally just choose to be someone else and become that. and I couldn't wait to get out of that hospital room. I got to tell you, I could not wait to leave. I get it now. And all this life just poured into me and said, go become something different. Go
Yes.
put something new on and try that out. When I finally did talk to the doctor, I was very excited. He was a little taken aback that I had made such a quick shift, but because I was self-admitted, right, they answered the questions, I can now leave and then go home and start everything over again. And I have to tell you, within a year, I had finished high school because I hadn't finished high school. I had gotten a better job, more money, bought a convertible, met the woman of my dreams, moved into a house with her and the kids she had, started life all over again. Within 1 year, I was a completely different person.
Mhm.
And it was so inspiring to me that I want more of this. I want more of this, and I want everyone else to have more of this.
Yes, that's exactly the spirit. Yes, right. That's what it is. But again, I come from a place of anger. I wasn't suicidal. I wasn't at that point. But I'll tell you, when I was about to lose my house, my home, everything. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I sought counsel. Why? Because I was willing. I was ready for that change, whatever it was going to be. I needed something else in my life. I needed something better. And I'm going to get into what I was saying because you used the one word I love to use. Um, I knew it was going to take effort on my part. I didn't know what effort. For you, it was going back to school and getting your education and putting effort into your life. But the idea was you were going to become. You were going to
Mm.
become that person that you were meant to be, the one that you've been blocking all along. You were going to become that person. And I love that. And that's what drives me. And I see it drives you.
Yes, when I remember feeling that when I first met you, there's this energy of intention that you emanate, and I think that's fantastic. I love that energy, and I'd love more people they have it, and I'd love more people to get into that energy that they have,
Right.
because there are a lot of people who are very intentional like that, and that's a great place. Like you said, you came from a place of anger, and I could sense that edge on you. But the fact that you're channeling all that energy into betterment, the fact that you're driving that to or having that drive you into more success, into expanding what you're doing and expressing yourself, that is such a great tool we can use,
Mhm.
because that's the energy and passion that we have just to be alive. I used to use that when I played a sport. I'm only 5'6", and yet I played volleyball my whole life.
Mhm.
Only because I met someone in when I was 11 that happened to be in the sport professionally, and they taught me how to play the game. And what's interesting is with all that suffering I had, I would use it on the court. I would use that almost frustration and anger to channel myself into getting better. And a lot of people around me didn't even get, like, how are you doing that? How are you getting better when you should be off your game? But instead, it's like they would say about me, don't get him upset because he focuses. And I
Hey,
love
that's great.
that.
That's a great tool to have. Absolutely. But again, you know what? That passion, that pursuit, that's what more of our men need. And you know what? Yeah, maybe there's the obstacle. Okay, but I need to do this or do this or do this. But those are only obstacles for, again, we can get through them. I can do this. I can get that certification. I can go out and meet these people. It's all little obstacles to the challenge of becoming that person.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, so we're going to start to end out the show. I love to ask a couple of questions, and the first one is, what can our young men and boys do to empower their life journey?
That's a fantastic question. Again, I want to just regress to that question that Mary shared with me. And that's the first thing I want to start with. It's just the beginning, it's hardly an ending. But what would you love? Number one, let that passion in your heart. That's what I would encourage everyone to do. Let that shine, let it flow, let yourself feel it. I think a lot of us are taught that, especially in the male community. I feel that we're taught to be restrictive. I think we're taught that, well, you got to be in control, you got to be strong, you got to have all the answers. And I think that's setting the bar so high when we start out. It's almost like telling a sixth grader that they have to do college level math. And that's discouraging, right? Because we need to learn how to get to the places we're going to.
Mhm.
And it's okay. The journey is okay. So definitely step one would be, what do you love? What really is so obsessive for you that you love to think about it and do? What makes you come alive? That's definitely the first place I would encourage everyone to start. And then when it comes to searching for those answers of what it is you can do to keep progressing physically towards it, there's asking quality questions. And it's bizarre when you first say it. But as I said about what Bob said about all the energy that's, has all the information that ever was, that information is accessible to every one of us. And by just knowing in our heart that we can get what it is we're looking for, that's that generate state, brings the vibration up. Then you ask the question, so what can I do to take another step towards what it is I love? And what comes back are thoughts. You get thoughts and ideas. And we teach in our courses that those are not random effects. Those aren't things that just happen. They're actually, it's a scientific effect. So by getting in what you love, really feeling what it is you'd love to do, and then asking, so what can I do to head that way? And then pay attention to your intuition, you'll start getting the thoughts and ideas. The key point then, of course, is act on it.
Yes.
I know it might be scary, but take that step. Go out and do it because your heart's telling you to. And to me, that's the voice of God.
Mhm. Absolutely. Again, what would we love to do? Honestly, it does all boil down to that. There is that word potential, because what would you love to do? And then that's what you have the potential to go out there and do, or to go out there and become. So thank you for that.
Mm.
And then next, what can we as a society do to help our young boys and men on that journey?
Oh, I love that question too. This is something that I required of myself a few years back when I started my personal development and journey, as it were. And I'll say that started after that heart surgery, that I just decided I'm going to make the change. What I realized through my journey was that the greatest thing we can ever do for everybody else is to make the best of ourselves. And it
Mm,
sounds counterintuitive when you first hear it. But if you think about it, if I go to the gym and exercise and work out and get really, really strong, I'll actually have the available strength needed. Where if it happened to be I'm in a plane accident and I'm trying to help save people, I'm strong and I can pick people up and carry them out of the plane. Now I can actually make a difference, because the more I get, the more I become, the better I can be for other people when they need it. Plus, you get to be an amazing example for others as you present to them what you did, and say, well, here's what I did and here's what works. And that's what people really respond to. So for the young boys and men out there, to have those role models, to have people they say, I like what this guy's doing. And now they get to emulate you because you're presenting the example for them.
and I tell you, that's another thing that drove me, Mark. I wasn't a good example once upon a time.
Mm.
And I wanted to be a good example for my son, for my nephews, for my nieces. Um, you know, I wanted to set a good example, and I wasn't. So I had to become that person. I had to step into that, or lean into it, as you like to say. So, but I had to become. I had to be open to do that. And
Mm.
again, that's what we're all about here. So thank you so much for everything you've shared with us today. I appreciate everything you've done, and your willingness to be here and share that with us.
Yes, yeah. But thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here, and in any way I can share my message and help other people understand themselves a little bit better and get into a place that helps them to move forward. You say the word becoming. One of the trainings we do is something called mind, body, soul, which is the learning, doing, becoming principle, and
Mhm.
what it takes to actually get set up in order to become what it is you want to do. So that's awesome. That I love that you're in that wheelhouse, and I want to congratulate you on all the work you've done to get to where you are too, because it's awesome to make yourself that example for other people and all the great work you're doing here. So thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for being a part of it, and again, thank you for joining us today on Open Up. So again, as many Canadians know, our Indigenous communities are in a big crisis, and we at Voice of Men 360 have stepped up and started a donation drive for Indigenous families. If you have any items to donate, used clothes, dry food items, or any other donatable goods, we're working to collect them here. We have a couple phone numbers for you. The first one, 416-356-7414. Or you can reach us at our phone number, 437-889-8329, or email info@voiceofmen360.org, or contact us through Facebook Messenger. We're working to coordinate to collect those items. We have several live shows on Voice of Men 360. The first you've just participated in, called Open Up, where we invite people to share their life journey with you. That happens Wednesdays at 6 p.m. and Sundays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Then we have a Tamil language live talk show, which is called Vili, which means I in English. That takes place Sundays at 8 a.m. Eastern Time, which is the same purpose, people sharing their personal life journey in the Tamil language. Then we host a monthly webinar the first Saturday of every month at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, where we bring organizations to discuss their topic of expertise. We also have a monthly special show we call the Unspoken Tears. This takes place the second Saturday of every month from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. The focus of this program is domestic violence against men, bullying, male sexual abuse, human trafficking. Yes, these do exist, and we discuss them here. We also co-host a show with the All Bengal Men's Forum called the South Asian Men's Show. This is topics facing South Asian men, but countries, different countries each week will be invited to participate. This is the third Sunday of every month from 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And then we turn all of our content into podcast episodes, so please look out for us on your favorite platform, iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, and more. And then we host a support group for men. The first one is men's for men's only. Only men are invited to participate so that we can allow men to be men and feel free to express themselves during this meeting. This is every 2 weeks, Tuesday, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m., 7:30 p.m. through Zoom. The next one will be October 19th. Please register and join us for that. We also host an Indigenous peer-to-peer support group. This one we call Pass the Talking Stick. It's the fourth Friday of every month from 6 to 7 p.m. through Zoom. And again, the next one will be Tuesday, October 22nd. Sorry, this will not be Tuesday, October 22nd, as it's the fourth Friday of every month. Please look out for this October's meeting of Pass the Talking Stick. There are no limitations with gender, age, nationality, or ethnic groups. All walk of life are invited to participate in our programming. If you want to be a guest on any of our shows, or you're willing to participate in our organization and help us, whether directly or indirectly, please reach out to us. We're looking to work with individuals, professionals, organizations, community, NGOs, government officials, and more. Please, again, you can reach out to us through our phone number, 437-889-8329, or email us info@voiceofmen360.org. That makes our website www.voiceofmen360.org. You can also reach us at .com or .ca. And you can find us on all social media platforms. Please follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more YouTube videos, and visit our YouTube page. Please like and share this community. We're on a membership drive. We're looking to increase our membership to 5,000 members to spread the Voice of Men 360 around the world by this International Men's Day, November 19th. So please share these videos, share the message, share the good work that we're doing here in the Voice of Men 360. Of course, our page is facebook.com/group/Voice of Men 360. And again, we want to reach out and help more people and continue the great work we're doing. Please continue your support. Please continue to share that message. And thank you for joining us. Until next time, I'm your host of Open Up, RJ Horner, and the Vice President of Voice of Men 360, asking you to open up.